Good afternoon, everybody. Anne from the Easing Spirit here. And I I want to talk about today what I want to talk about, of course, is my spiritual journey regardless, right? There's a couple of things that I want to talk on, and one of them being, again, trusting the process, but not always knowing when you think you know, right? Okay, so yesterday I went to a psychic spectrum group with my best friend, and you can give a you can give something of yours with a word on a card, so that when they read it out, you can say that's me, and then they'll give you your item back and they'll read you what they wrote on the card in relation to what they read from your item. And I gave them my little pinky ring that I wear, and the gentleman gave me a song that he referenced. I really wish that I had the little card that he wrote on and put the date on, but he referenced a song that he wanted me to listen to the lyrics on. Or not, excuse me, he said do not listen to the song. He said read the lyrics, because when you read the lyrics you will get a different message from that. And so I did. And the lyrics were all about, love and coming together, and, being with the person that you love and all of that. And I had been for a little while under the impression that I knew how everything was going to play out for me. And yesterday, sometimes when we speak things out and we say that we think we know something, the universe will show you differently. And so I thought I had an idea of what direction my life was going, what my love interest was going to be, how that was going to play out, things that were going to be in my life later, much later, right? Not in the immediate future, but much later. And after everything that happened yesterday, and a situation that came up last night for me, where I met a new person, everything exponentially changed in a very rapid succession. So so in reading the lyrics, at first I thought I understood what it meant, but then as I continued to process it, it finally came into alignment of what it meant, and it put me right back into where I was at in January and February of this last year. I was struggling to find happiness and love and everything that I needed inside of myself without another person. And I had finally came around to understanding that I was enough just as I want to say I'm enough as I am, because I am, but at that time I was not who I am now, but so I was enough as I was. I don't know if that makes sense, but as you go through your journey, you are enough through the whole process, right? And so in the lyrics, reading them, I finally realized that what it meant was to to have that loving relationship and connection to myself, and to be completely fulfilled without another person. And then another person in time will be that cherry on top, right? It'll be like the last little piece that adds to the perfect sundae, right? So But there was a few other messages that I got in that too, about the direction that I'm going, and there was a couple of other things, but the song portion of it was what stood out the most for me. I realized that after processing that and sitting down with myself and really examining, and this was yesterday evening after I got home, and really examining the situation that I'm in as far as my spiritual journey and what my expectations are of having intimacies or gratification or sensual contact with the opposite sex. That even though I thought I knew how things were going to play out, I was actually leading that thought process with my ego and not completely abandoning all control and allowing the process to play out on its own. Trusting the process. Everything on your journey. There's bullet points to your journey, to everybody's journey, that are absolutely the same. So your journey is your journey, my journey is my journey. No two are the same. However, I could say something to you and maybe a piece of it will resonate, maybe none of it will resonate, maybe the whole thing will resonate, and I could say it to a group of people and we could get a handful of them that will agree and a handful of them that'll be like, well, this isn't for me, and if it doesn't flow, they let it go. However, I will say there are things on the spiritual journey that are absolute bullet points for everybody. One of them being trusting the process. The second one being relinquishing control. The third one being removing all fear. And the fourth one I'm sorry, I took a little bit of a break there. I was getting a message, something really strong. But the last one being that, I'm going to sit with it for a second. And the last one being that your intention is everything. This journey for me is getting now to where I am understanding how I can allow my guides and my higher self to cushion the process for me. Where I thought I was, or what I thought was going to come to fruition, like I said, was led with my ego. Trusting the process is all about not leading with your ego and relinquishing fear, right? Because we all go through this thing in life where we're in fear if we don't know what's going on. We're in fear if we don't have control. We're in fear of a lot of things if it's not within our control, like I just said, right? So I had made a decision that I was going to delete any dating apps that I was on or a part of, because I have the belief that my journey is going to bring me the person that I'm supposed to be with, and it's going to happen organically, right? Because as I sat yesterday and I thought about things, and it was into yesterday evening, and I don't know why, but I'm getting a lot of information right now while I'm trying to do this video. And the information does have to do with people who are already a part of my life, right? And things that I'm going through in my life. And ultimately, I have to know that I'm everything that I need. I'll have these conversations out loud where I talk about things, and sometimes nobody else is around. I'm just talking. And I'm talking to my higher self, and I'm talking to my guides. And as I'm giving out this information, I know I've said this in other videos, I suddenly begin to get downloads of information. A spiritual journey is a beautiful thing. Certain pieces of it and certain aspects of it, not so beautiful, right? So, last night, and without, giving too much information, last night, I was looking through my phone after I'd been texting with a friend, and I noticed that I had gotten a notification from the dating site. And I thought in my head, oh yeah, that's right. I need to delete that because I'm not going to use it anymore. And I opened it up and I saw that I had received a message from someone that clearly at one point or another I had matched with. And I don't know why, but I read this person's profile. And I'm not going to lie, the profile intrigued me. Even though I looked at the photos and it was not somebody, I mean, not, it wasn't like a horrible, terribly ugly person or anything like that. But in just looks wise, if I was in a public place and I was out looking, not what I would be looking for, right? And so I decided to respond. And it was almost like it was a different experience than every other one I've had before. Every connection that I've made with another person on any type of dating app, and I've been on many of them, all the way back from end of October of last year. This connection was completely different. And I have this idea that I have all these bullet points that I have to check when I meet someone. I have to know that they're this or they're that, or their energy matches mine, or that there's a connection between us. And because I'm never a person, just to have random hookups or dates with people, right? And I have been having some issues as of late, getting cantankerous, cranky with my guides and my higher self, because I feel like I'm doing all the work here. Why ain't I getting any type of reward, right? And reward being, just somebody to hang out with, even. Be in another person's presence. No texting on the phone incessantly for hours, right? But actually being in the presence of another person and sharing that present energy. And it doesn't have to be anything but just hanging out, talking, being in the presence of another person of the opposite sex that you have a connected energy to. And so I've been, having a little bit of a with my guides. And so last night I literally felt like one of my guides came down and took my hand, and they were leading me on the journey of responding to this person, saying it's okay, let go, trust the process, all of that, right? And so I did, and the conversation was very light and very fun, and it ended up becoming a very spontaneous situation, which spontaneous I can be all day long. But I have some rules behind that, right? I can only be spontaneous with people I know, that kind of thing. And although, well, I can't say that directly, I've been learning over the past several months how to be more spontaneous and not trying to control everything. But to a degree, I still have this idea that, I want to talk to you for a while. I want to feel you out. I want to feel your energy. I want to ask you some questions. I want to do all that stuff. And literally, my guys were like, no, 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 you're not doing that this time. No. Being on a spiritual path is always about matching your vibrational energy or higher, right? I mean, we interact with people whose vibrational energies are below ours. Naturally, I'm a Reiki healer. And it's not above or below or anything. It's where you are in your path, right? And what level you vibrate at in this life, what energy level your aura and all that stuff. And this gentleman said to me, trust me, I know we'll have fun. And I, immediately I threw up this, thing in my mind of, oh, I know we would have fun, but, right? Buts negate everything that you say before you say but. I try my hardest. There are times that I throw a but in there, but I really, really tried hard to say, however, so that what I've said before doesn't get negated by the but. Because what I said before doesn't matter, right? This person asked me to drive over to their place. And suddenly I had this well of strength and power and stepping into my power. And I thought, okay, send me your address so I can, GPS it and see how long it's going to take me to get there. And so they did. They sent me their address. And everybody, this is just something that I do. Every single person that I get a telephone number for, or I get first and last name, or anything like that, I automatically search them online. I do with everybody. It's just something I do. I'm a safety girl. It's 2025. Things happen. A lot of that comes from my past, right? And really, honestly, I probably don't need to do that, but I still do, right? It makes me feel safer to know the person. And the funny thing is maybe if I tuned more into my guides in that sense and just said, is this somebody that's safe for me or not? Although I do, it's really funny because I'll go through the step of checking the person out online, and then I'll ask my guides, is this somebody I should be messing with? And there's times that I get a flat out no. Don't talk to that person. Or I get not a yes or a no, right? And ultimately we don't get the answers all the time. It's not like our guides sit up there and wait for us to ask questions. They can give us all the answers and we can, live this easy existence, because that's not what duality is all about, right? So I searched him online, of course, and noticed that he was a little bit older than he said in his profile. And I thought, oh, okay. whatever. Sometimes, when I was young, I used to lie about my age and say I was older. And I didn't look at it as a lie. It wasn't, and it didn't even seem important to me. I mean, I saw it, I noted it, and then I overlooked it. It wasn't even, and it was really funny because I had been drawn to contemplating hanging out with this person, and I felt like my guide had taken me by the hand and was literally walking me through this process and saying it's okay. I felt I didn't feel threatened by it or have a need to worry about it. It was really odd. Last night was a very odd experience for me. It was almost like I was in a bit of a dream, if that would make sense. Everything felt so right. Everything flowed so smoothly. Everything from the telephone conversation to, yes, if you want to know, I did drive out there. I did spend time with this person. It was a very powerful experience and very dream state like, right? Almost like, did that happen? Should I pinch myself? Did I connect with that person on that level like that? I didn't even have to express expectations, wants, needs, or anything. It all flowed right into place. How is that possible? Right? And the funny thing is the aura that he put off was very bright white. It was a very bright white light. Very comforting, very soothing, very whole. It was almost like he read me and he knew my expectations, my wants, needs, the things. I don't know. It was a very strange experience, very moving, and afterwards, when I was on my way home, quite literally, I heard my guides say to me, all of that is possible in your life and more. You need just trust the process. And that rang so true to me. It was almost soul rocking, right? Just realizing that energy that I'm seeking is absolutely out there. It is out there. It is possible. He can't be the only one in the world, right? And that is gonna be there for me when the time comes. So then I stepped back and I started thinking to myself even more about where I thought things were going in my life. And I started to realize that those thought processes were being led by my ego. And what I went through last night had no ego involved at all. My ego never cropped up. I never felt like I had to bring it to the forefront. I never felt like I needed it. I did not. I felt no threat, no unease, no. I felt everything was beautiful and smooth, like fine wine. So in having that awakening last night and realizing that my spiritual journey right now is about me focusing on my business, getting my business going, giving as much help to as many people as I can, and bringing myself up. And my vibrations are higher now. I can feel them. I can feel it cellularly in my body. That it's really odd too, because even music that I generally listen to, and it'll never change. My love of music will always be the same, but I know this is going to be really crazy, and I don't know if we're allowed to reference, well, maybe I'm not allowed to reference certain groups or artists or whatever on my YouTube because I don't have their okay to do that. So I'm not going to, but even music that I heard yesterday while I was at his place spending time with him literally settled into my body, if that makes sense. It's almost like it rewrote me in a way. And that type of music, and one of the groups that a group that we were discussing, an artist that we were discussing, let me say it that way, that he had said the name to me. I'd never heard of them before. And so when I came home today, or when I was home today this morning, I pulled up on Pandora, that artist, and then allowed Pandora to create a station out of that artist, right? So then there's lots of other artists that are under that same type of genre, that same type of style. And I realized there's actually a few groups that have came up, songs that have came up on the list that I already know. But listening to that music, for a while I was just swimming in my thoughts. It was like I was trying to get my bearing and understand what had happened. Everything that had went on. And it was really good for my journey because, like I said, it absolutely lets me know that it's out there. It's out there, and that level of energy, that vibration that I'm at now, I'll go even higher, right? And I can't entertain sharing that energy with somebody who is not for my greater good. So, in coming into being within the space of connecting to somebody and eventually having what it is that I'm looking for, right? I mean, right now I'm not looking for it, but I know in time a commitment, a relationship, a healthy, sensual, vibrant, teeming with life relationship with another giver like myself. The one thing that I realize is that for almost all, not all, because I've had some people in my past that are decent, right? Like my oldest son's father. And a couple of other people that I dated after I separated and divorced my first husband. They were givers. And the thing about it is that in the couple of relationships that I had, they weren't serious committed relationships, but they were good friendships that had some benefits, right? I was not on a spiritual journey at the time, and I was still trying to navigate and figure out my anxiety that I had and I was living with every day. And one of the relationships came to an end because the gentleman decided he wanted to rekindle things with his wife that he was separated from. And he had children and everything, and that was understandable, and I had no hard feelings to that. And I wasn't, that one I wasn't looking so much for a commitment from. The other one, though, was the one that I really did want to have a committed relationship with the other person. But the anxiety that I was navigating at the time ruined that from happening. I ruined that from happening. I let my ego drive so many things and my need to control so many things, and that it just faltered and fizzled out. And, a period of time went by, a few years went by. I had gotten in another relationship, and this person was a taker, not a giver, just like my ex husband, a taker. My second son's dad, a taker. My recent husband that I'm divorcing, a taker, right? Doesn't make them wrong. It just, I can't, you know, I can't entertain that because of where I am and where I want to be, right? So, two givers being together, it's powerful when you get two people who are not controlling, not manipulating, want to give. So I know that that higher vibration is out there that can match mine and bring and elevate me higher, right? Elevate me to be a better person and be higher on my path. And I mean, we never know who those people are. It could be somebody you know now, and in time they change things in their life. It could be somebody who comes later. Although, like I said, I thought I knew. I didn't know shit. The only thing I did know is that and I do know this, my business is going to flourish. It's going to take off. And when it does, it's going to be exponential and life is going to be good. I do know that. Who's going to share it with me or where I'm going to be in that, I don't know. But I've now had a taste of what that higher vibration is like. And ooh, I'll tell you. It's pretty amazing. It really is. Melissa, who is a girl that I follow on Facebook, and she does lives. And she's part of Full-Time Purpose, which is a company that, teaches people like myself. I wanted to get onto Full-Time Purpose. I didn't have the money to buy into it like my best friend did. Although something's telling me I wasn't meant to do that. My guides were telling me, it's okay, we got you. We're going to bring you through where it is that you need to be. Don't worry about it. It's going to work out. That's not where you need to be. That's where she needs to be. And your path is different. And so, but Melissa, she talks about finances, and she does meditations called Magic Money, and she talks about how you need to have a better relationship with money, and how most of us, when we get paid, we get our paycheck and we think to ourselves, oh my gosh, I have to pay this, I have to pay that, I have to pay this, I have to pay that. Oh, I'm so broke, I don't have any more money. And I had a conversation with somebody about it the other day, and I was kind of trying to explain it. And I've always had this belief that if your bills are paid, if there is food in your belly, and you don't need for anything, I mean, sure, wants can be nice from time to time, right? Wants shouldn't be every day on a regular basis, but wants should be from time to time. And if you can also hit wants at times so that you're living some type of a happy life, right? Then you're not broke. And this person that I was talking to the other day says, well, yeah, but if you don't have any money in savings, and you can't go on vacation, and you can't, then people feel broke. Well, yeah, maybe they do, if that's what the meaning of, not being broke is to them. all of us have it to be different, right? I used to reference how my husband, if he didn't have $300 to $500 of spending money every single week, and that's $2,000 a month, between 1,200 and 2,000 a month to buy lunch, and if it's online shopping or whatever it was he felt like spending it on, if he didn't have that in the account to blow every week, we were broke, even though all of our bills were paid. And he had gas for work and all of that stuff. So I've never had that kind of a relationship with money where I look at money as, I've kind of looked at the more that you have, the more evil you can be. That's been my past thought process. So mine isn't that I have a contentious relationship with money, that I don't have enough of it and I feel like I'm being disrespected and I want more, because my thing has always been that I've always worried that if I got too much, that it could change me. And now on the spiritual journey that I'm on now, I know that's absolutely not true. The money that I have, or the money that I'll come into, and the money that I make, and all of that for this business, and where it's going to carry me and give me the things that I want and stuff, is also going to be helping other people. It's not just I'm not going to be there just buying stuff and willy-nilly being crazy about it, because I've always been a sensible person. So, but she'll do money manifestation. She'll do magic money meditations. She does all this stuff to teach you how to have a better relationship with money, and how to get yourself on a higher vibration, and how to get yourself around other people who vibrate higher because they don't have a bad relationship with money. And that was one of the boxes that my new friend checked, right? Owns his own business, has a beautiful house, has all the things that I've looked at, in my past and thought, well, if I was at that level, what kind of a person would I be? But it shows me, right, that just because somebody's, and I have experienced negative people in the past. People who came into money because, oops, they fell into it, right? Or they inherited it, or, well, it's money from their family, right? So they've lived with the silver spoon in their mouth, and they look at other people who don't have that type of income or that type of lifestyle as beneath them. You're not as big as me. You're not as important as me. You don't walk in the same social circles as I do because you don't have money. So, but what it showed me wasn't what he has, but what you can still be even if you have, right? Even if it's not a worry. Even if you're cushioned and comfortable, that you can still be an amazingly high vibrating person that does not look at anybody else as less than. I mean, considering there's a lot of men in this world that, oh, I'm shifting. The more I talk about things and the more I shift, I yawn. Because I'm coming into understanding of stuff. And that's the wonderful part about being on a spiritual journey, is the shifting, the understanding of what's going on around you and cellularly inside of you as you become tuned to who you're supposed to be, the path you're supposed to walk. So it gave me a taste of, I can be on that high vibrating level and still be kind and giving and understanding and not self-centered or dismissive or judgmental of other people. And all these little pieces of things that I go through on my journey, sometimes I will exponentially change from one day to the next of the person that I am. And I feel like yesterday through last night and into this morning was another one of those large changes, those large shifts in my thought process, in understanding the path that I'm on, in understanding how things are going to come to me and what life is going to be like. And each little piece is a win, right? It's getting me more and more in that direction and more on that path where I need to be focusing on the things I need to be doing. So now it's beautiful weather, and it's going to be all time of booking events and trying to get booths at places, and giving short sessions of Reiki healing and oracle card readings and different things like that, so that people can get a taste of what I do and what I offer, so that I can begin to build that client base. So it's pretty exciting to me. But that boost of vibrating energy that I now feel I'm at, my creativity is much more. I've got so much going on in my mind today. Although I had to sit for a while, I'll tell you, I had to process this morning. I did nothing in the very first of the morning. I had to sit and process and really think about yesterday and the events and the things that I went through, and come into, and that's part of the shifting too, right? Is understanding, because we can have something brought to us. I mean, I have to understand that I brought something to a friend of mine just recently, gave a message, and he was like, whoa, that was super heavy. It's going to take me a little while to process that. This is the same thing for me, right? It's going to take me a little while. It not so much now, because I've got it. I mean, I've totally got it. But this morning, really thinking on it, I had to take a step back and process that, and look at it and see what it looked like, and then understand what I was being told. But anyway, so I don't know, just a bunch more babble of mine. And I'm getting to where I like these babbling moments. They're not, and I guess on this one, I really didn't even hit on a specific topic. Well, yeah, it is kind of trusting the process, right? But it's just being on my spiritual journey, part 3. Yeah, that's what it is, right? So I don't know if any of this resonated with you. I don't know. I know that there's lots of us out there that are on a spiritual journey, and we are completely alone. And that can be super scary, right? But I also realized that I had to separate from my husband, and I had to take the journey by myself. I had to be alone. I have to be alone. I'm not completely alone, because my guides are there. My higher self is there. And there's, times where people come into my life and they bless me at one point or another. And, some people stay and some are only there for a little bit. So I'm not completely alone. However, I believe that to work on yourself, really, really deeply work on yourself, you can't have the worry of another person. You can't be concerned with what another person is going through. You have to be able to. Now, don't get me wrong, and I know there are couples out there that I'm sure have went through a spiritual process and stayed together, and each of them worked individually, while they were together, and then as things started to fall into place, it worked into their marriage and their relationship, and it worked out, and they are where they are today, right? I know it's happened. Nothing's impossible. The chances on that are so. My thing to you is, anytime that you're on a spiritual journey, it's absolutely your responsibility to ask questions to your guides and your higher self on a regular basis. Have conversations every day if you have to. I don't care if you do look like you're crazy walking around talking to yourself. Whoever when you're having those conversations and you're asking those questions, and sometimes we if we ask, this is my thing. If you ask a question, you get the answer, great. If you ask a question, you get no answer. That's because you're asking the wrong question or you're asking the question wrong. So then you need to sit and really kind of look at it and examine it and try to flip it in a different way. Because the one thing that your higher self and your guides are not going to do is they're not just going to give you the answers and make your walk easy. That's not what we signed up for. Because if it was, then we wouldn't be where we are right now. We wouldn't be dealing with duality. It would be a completely different matrix, as you would say, right? I mean, I believe we're in a matrix. We're in a human 3D reality matrix. And the higher, up there is, where we all return to, or where we unjack from here and we return to. So when we're brought down here, we're absolutely jacked in. So kind of in a way, the whole story of the Matrix is not so far-fetched, right? So I don't know. I'm babbling a little bit more, but I've been loving these type of topic discussions because I feel like I just unfold and I just kind of give it to you. And if there's anything that you're going through, as for, you don't have to have somebody when you're trying to better yourself. The whole point of bettering yourself is trusting that you don't have to have somebody. You can get there on your own. You can give yourself everything that you need, all the love that you need, all the desire, all the answers, everything is inside of you. When you tap into it and you completely trust the process and you begin to work, you begin to heal and you heal those traumas and you go through the whole messy thing of trauma healing and the spiritual journey, and you come out on the other side and you brush yourself off and you're feeling kind of dapper, because maybe you're dressed all clean and you're feeling all clean. That's when those committed connections that are authentic can start to float into your life. And maybe you'll make a connection with somebody you already know. Maybe you'll see them in a different light. Maybe they'll see you in a different light. Maybe it'll be somebody you don't know. It'll be a completely new person who will come into the picture. Whatever it is, when it comes when it's for your greater good, when it's supposed to come. And if any of it hurts, and I don't mean hurts because we do things to put ourselves in hurtful situations. I mean, if somebody hurts you, it's not for your greater good, no matter how small that looks like. People, well, no, my guys are telling me to word that a little bit differently. I'm being told not to say it that way. So we'll put it this way, because I have made statements in the past to embrace your chaos. So hurt is a part of your journey. And there are times that hurt is for your greater good, even if it doesn't seem like it's for your greater good. And most of the time, those hurts come along because they're trying to wake us up. The light has tried to give us a nudge, has tried to push us in the right direction, has tried to drop little seeds of information, and we're just not getting it. So they have to call in some chaos, which comes from darkness, right? And the light calls in the chaos to wake you up. So hurt that we go through in life, just because it's hurt doesn't mean that it automatically gets shut down and it's automatically not for our greater good. That is not true. However, when you are with somebody and you are giving yourself to them and they're doing things that are hurting you, that's not for your greater good. That's something else altogether. That's something that you have to examine, and you have to find out why you're allowing that to happen, if you've allowed it more than one time. The first time that something happens, I always say, first time, shame on me. Second time, shame on you. And that's the absolute truth. And the reason why is because the first time, everybody makes mistakes. We're all human, right? I mean, It is what it is. And a mistake happens. You address that mistake. You deal with that mistake. Now, there's certain mistakes that I believe that are already ingrained in somebody that if you give them grace on it, it will happen again. There are certain things. You have men who are have the compulsion to be physically abusive to their partners. That generally means that they have darkness attached to them. And that's a whole nother situation. That's a whole nother topic for another day, right? When you're in a relationship with somebody and they've done something and it's hurt you, and you bring it to them and you say, look, I can't, this just can't, we can't, that can't, whatever. And they say, okay, you're right, I'm sorry, and they correct that and it doesn't happen again, then that is for your greater good, and it's for their greater good because it teaches them how to grow as a person. It's for your greater good because it also teaches you to give grace and have the understanding that the human race is not perfect. We all make mistakes. However, if it happens again, that's a pattern. Once something happens more than one time, it becomes a pattern. And once it's a pattern, no I'm sorries or apologies can work to fix that, because now there's a much deeper issue that needs to be dealt with. And it's up to that person to deal with that issue, and then it's up to you to pull yourself away and disconnect in love and light. And I know a lot of times that's easier said than done. Oh, he's so great in so many ways. He only calls me a bitch when he's truly upset. And, I upset him. And he only talks to me degrading like that when I get him mad. And I know how to get on his nerves. And if that's the case and you do know how to get on his nerves and you do know how to push those buttons, then you need to take your butt to counseling. And you need to get your shit figured out as well as he needs to get his shit figured out. But it's still not okay if it happens more than once. So I'm going to go on to say again, I don't know if this resonated with anybody. I'm actually going to end it now. I was going to end it earlier, but then we got on a whole nother tangent, which I love because I feel like the information that comes out of me is obviously coming out of me because somebody is going to hear this and they're going to need it. And that's fabulous. That's the kind of connections that I strive to make and what I want to be able to do, for people. So anyway, you can click subscribe below. Definitely like on my post so I know what you like and what you don't. So it lets me know what I should lean towards making more content on, because I definitely, you, my viewer, are the person that I'm focusing this for. So I want you to be satisfied in what's going on. You can leave comments on here if you want to contact me in relation to anything that I do. I do energy work, I do Reiki healings, I do tarot card readings, and actually I've been having, and I think I'm going to do a talk on this hopefully sometime this week. I am going to have a focused discussion, maybe not this week, probably next week, on numerology, because I have consecutive numbers that come up to me. It happens to all of us, right? Where you look at the clock and you go, oh, it's 1-1. 11:11, or oh, look at that, it's 5:55, or you get the receipt, 333 or 222, or whatever. But when it's happening to you so much every single day on a constant, almost like multiple times a day, multiple times, I feel like because it's been happening to me, my guides are telling me that numerology is something that I need to look into. There's a reason that this keeps happening. And so I plan on having a talk on numerology here pretty soon. I'm going to start digging into getting more information on understanding it and getting, start putting myself through some type of training or whatever, so that I can also, do numerological readings for people as well. I am a spiritual minister and I'm a life coach. I can definitely coach you on your spiritual path. Not telling you what you need to do, but absolutely setting you up to stand in your own power, to find the answers inside of yourself. So I hope everybody has a great rest of their day, and we're coming up on the weekend, so good weekend, and the Sunday is Easter, so I hope you have a happy Easter, and live every day in love and light. Namaste. Thank you. Bye.